Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic, stroke survivor, and I am disabled, even though I don't look like it. And that's an important reminder that we're here talking about invisible illnesses. And it's weird to say I am disabled, and I spoke yesterday about possibly adding that to my intro, and I like it. I don't like that I'm disabled, but I like adding that because I think it is important as an introduction to what my perspective is on things, on life, on recovery. So today I want to talk about, today is the Reads and Recovery episode. So that means we'll be reviewing Drop the Rock, removing character defects steps 6 and 7. But before I get into the book, I wanted to tell you about my day. So I woke up this morning, went down to take the dogs out the way that I always do, 6:45 promptly. Not really, not promptly at all. I go strolling down there when I can between 6:45 and 7. And I walked outside with Autumn, and there was a tiny itty bitty whittle itty bitty mouse at the end of my driveway, just sitting there. My guess is that a bird had him and accidentally dropped him or something, because it was bizarre that he was sitting in the middle of the driveway near nothing. And he wasn't moving really. He was just kind of like sitting there, all curled up, but alive and breathing and all that stuff. I took pictures of the tiny little itty bitty itty bitty mouse, and tried to decide what I was going to do with it. And I decided I cannot just leave it there. So I posted on Facebook a picture of the mouse and asked for suggestions on what to do with the mouse, but I already knew what I was going to do with it. So I put it in a box with a little itty bitty little blankie, and looked up how to feed a baby mouse. So I found a dropper and filled it with, I'm vegan, right? So I filled it with plant-based milk. And and then I looked up, what diseases do baby mice have? So there was something called hantavirus. So I named the mouse Hannah. This is all just today, okay? So I named the mouse Hannah. And just to remind myself that I could not keep the mouse. No matter what happens, I can't keep the mouse, and I need to handle it with care. So I wore plastic gloves, and I tried to, I filled up the little dropper bottle with plant-based milk, and I put it out in the sun for a little bit to warm it up. And then I squirted some, and it didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I squirted a little on the box floor, and it didn't have any. So then I thought maybe it's already switched over to hard food. So I got it some wildflower seeds and put those in there. He didn't want to have anything to do with that either. So I just left him alone for another couple hours, and I went back out there, and he was gone. Not gone. He had died. So I feel like it's my fault, but it really can't be my fault. I don't know. I think he would have died no matter what. So I had him in a box inside a bigger box, and he was not really mobile for the first few hours of the day. But then as time passed a little bit, he ended up crawling out of that box, but he was very like eyes shut, kind of moving around, feeling around moving. It was that's how tiny he was. And so he got out of the box that he was in and got in the other box because that was underneath his box. And I think it was too hot because it was so hot outside. He didn't have that protection of the little itty bitty blankie underneath him. So I have a feeling that he overheated. So I feel terrible about it. I feel like he would have passed away no matter what I would have done. I didn't want to take him in the house, obviously, and he was too tiny to get himself food. So anyway, I did put him out in a area where, if anything, I don't know, needs some dinner or breakfast or something, that maybe they can have it. So if that's terrible, sorry, you can unsubscribe, but that's what I did with the mouse. So Hannah was my pet mouse today for like 3 hours, and she was super cute. If you want to see a picture of her, just go to my Facebook account and you can see a picture of Hannah. And while you're there, follow me or befriend me. Friend me. I think that's what happens there in Facebook. So that's what happened. And then I have been working on lots of crafts. Too many to even talk about. The episode would be way too long if I talked about all my crafts. So that's what happened with Hannah. So maybe Hannah Montana is what I should have named the mouse. Okay. Here we go. So we are doing a book review of Drop the Rock. So Drop the Rock is about steps 6 and 7, and it's been a really good resource for lots of folks in their sobriety journey. So I'm just going to share with you some of my thoughts on Drop the Rock. This conversation may just switch basically over to talking about my steps 6 and 7, but it's step 6 and 7, it seems like, are not covered very thoroughly in our AA books. So this Drop the Rock book has been really, I think, really important for people to pick up who are in the program. When I have a sponsee and we get to step 6 and 7, I always ask them to read Drop the Rock. I think it's a really good book because it's talking about these character defects and being willing to change. So step 6 is we were entirely ready to have God remove all these these defects of character. And step 7, we humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. My words feel like they're not going to be doing very well in this episode. We'll see what happens. So where did the title come from? If you listened to the book or read the book, great, you know where the title came from. But if you did not read the book, Drop the Rock symbolizes letting go of all the burdens and these character defects that we carry that hinder our progress in recovery, in life, really. So the book starts by addressing the importance of acknowledging what our character defects are. It even goes into each one and kind of defines it, which is kind of, I don't know, a depressing part to me. But anyway, I'll talk about that. they make sure to say like these character defects are not a bad thing. They don't make you a bad person, right? It's something that we're human beings and we want to acknowledge some tendencies that we have and become willing to let go of them. I never understood personally what any of it meant to be ready to have God remove these defects of character, because if I had a pretty weak step 2 and 3, then how am I going to ask or believe that God can remove these defects of character? Well, personally, I did not believe that God, I didn't have a strong enough belief in God or faith in a higher power, that anything could remove my defects of character, you know? So in step 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. I honestly can't say that I'm 100% on board about humbly asking him to remove our shortcomings. What I feel like is that I'm more asking him to help me overcome them. So I don't know if that's just I'm playing around with words or what, but that's what resonates better with me, is to say it that way. So the um, the book talks about being ready to let go of our defects. And that readiness is not um, just being passive. It's this program is an active program. So it's really a process of sitting down with your sponsor and talking about making this decision, you know, identifying what your defects of character are, which you've already addressed in 4 and 5, but getting to that point where you're like, okay, you know, I get it. I get the trends that have impacted my relationships, my role in those relationships, and I've talked about it with my sponsor. Now, I really want to change. That's what step 6 is to me. I really want to change. I'm willing, I'm ready to change. And then that step 7 for me is, okay, let's do it. You know, it's an active decision. What can I do? What steps can I take to start embracing change and growth? So the book has a lot of personal stories and examples and real life experiences that illustrate the challenges of working through steps 6 and 7. And these these examples that they share really take some of the definitions that they've provided, then they give an example, a real life example, which allows that the defining discussion be more relatable. And it provides these valuable lessons on how to apply steps 6 and 7 in our own lives. So the book talks about humility and explains about how humility, this is that part about, this isn't about saying that we're bad people. That, you know, if I'm gluttonous or I'm whatever it is, I'm not identifying it and saying I'm a terrible person. it's saying I'm a human being. And this is one of the things I do. This is one of the things I've picked up in life. Um, but I'm ready. I want to change. I don't want to do that anymore. So I have a realistic view of myself and my place, my role in my environment with the people around me. So not only recognizing what my challenges are, what these character defects are, but also identifying at the same time what my strengths are. And I can use those strengths in order to take the actions that I need and to start letting go of some of those character defects. And it's a lifelong process. This is not, none of these steps, honestly, for me, none of these steps are one and done. None of them. Step one, I do every single day, every morning when I wake up. That's what my step one is. It's almost like I do a mini step 1 through 12 when I open my eyes in the morning. Um, and I bet people have been doing this for decades, have the same thing. It's just like you're kind of it's like you have a mold of your form, your body, let's pretend, okay? It's like you have this, which I think it's, is it Star Trek or Star Wars? I think it's Star Wars, or it could be both of them. Anyway, there's a few scenes of these things, I guess, where I feel like it's Star Wars, where somebody goes into this thing and the form of their body, they're like frozen or something like that. Um, it's like when I wake up in the morning, I already have that form. I already have the template. Here we go. Okay, this is better. I have a template for that I've created over the past 8 years in sobriety for who I am, how I want to be today. This is a template for how I want to be today. So I wake up and I process 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like I'm automatically stepping through all of these steps to align myself into this template so that I can say, yep, I fit. This is what I want to be today. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me. So I guess that's all that matters. I don't know. But they, so recognizing our strengths in order to make those changes. So the character defects are not bad. Often they are survival mechanisms that have outlived their usefulness. And the book encourages us to view our defects, view ourselves with compassion, and understand that it's a gradual process. Every day, I have to scan the template and fit myself into it every day. And sometimes that means I have to shake some stuff off, in order to fit into that template of who I want to be today. And this perspective on my character defects, stuff that I'm maybe not terribly proud of, if I go through this process on a daily basis, starting with my sponsor for the first time, this continuously going through this process makes it easier to reduce the shame and guilt that we've been dragging along with us that accompany those shortcomings, because I believe we know what our shortcomings are, but we kind of accept that that's who we are and that's who we're always going to be. I mean, in my case, that's how I was. I'm like, well, that's just who I am. And that's the way it's going to be. Well, it doesn't have to be who I am. I don't have to be that way. If I'm willing to be brave enough to look at it, I can change it. I can change it. And it takes action in order to do that. So the book provides steps to help us work through these steps, 6 and 7, like exercises to help us work through step 6 and 7. And it takes action. Sometimes for me, it didn't feel like action. It almost felt like I was just thinking it through. I felt like it's kind of like a lot of the steps. Probably steps 1, 2, and 3 more than anything. I felt like they were just thinking steps. And it turns out when you sit down with a sponsor, a step that seems like a thinking step turns into an action step. That's what one of the benefits of having a sponsor is. One of the needs for having a sponsor is that they know how to turn these thoughts that are ruminating in our heads into action. So one of the exercises is to make a list of the character defects and then identify specific actions that we can take to address each one. And that can seem overwhelming to look at all of it all at once, but it's a task that takes a lifetime to work on. You can break it down into manageable steps. And that's why it's important to talk to your sponsor every day or every week, however long you guys have agreed upon. So the book also highlights the importance of community and support, and reminds us over and over that we don't have to do this alone and that we can seek help from others. And that is the most powerful tool that I have in my recovery, in my stroke recovery, in my sobriety, is other people. It's so important to share what's going on with our trusted friends, our sponsors, our recovery groups, and ask for feedback. I know that we kind of lean towards not trying to give advice in recovery, but nothing says that you can't ask for feedback. Suggestions are welcomed. And this is the type of support we can work together on through the steps. There's lots of inspiring quotes and affirmations. There are lots of suggestions for how to I'm trying to think of the word, like daily reminders for doing like a daily commitment to your recovery. And that daily reminder, that daily commitment, like I said, when I wake up every morning, is it's needed for me because I I am so easily tempted to revert back to old behaviors, unless I continue to remind myself. This is why I'm 8 years sober and I'm still extremely enthusiastic about my program, about the steps. I can't, it's, if it's not obvious yet that I cannot say enough about recovery because it has saved my life. And that's why I have something I can talk about every day, because I'm passionate about it. It saved my life. It literally saved my life. And it, there are so many other people in my life that I have lost in the past 8 years, people that I've run across in the program who have passed away from the same exact disease that I have, same exact invisible illness that I have. It is a deadly disease. So that's why I'm so passionate about talking about it, because if I can help one person, all of the energy that I have put forth in the past year towards this podcast is worth it. It's entirely worth it. So this book, Drop the Rock, is definitely a resource that I would recommend to anybody in recovery. It is really a comprehensive look at two of the most challenging steps. And there's a lot of folks that come into sobriety that actually make a decision that they do not want to work the steps. I was just talking about this today. There are folks that come in, they articulate, I am not going to do the steps because of this or that. And some examples would be, you know, I, in a more explicit way of saying it, they would say that they don't believe in God and they're not, nothing will make them. Another is that they believe that the program is a cult, or all kinds of reasons. Okay. And a lot of what it comes down to that I've observed of these folks that decide that they're not going to work the program. I've actually had another individual say that I'm not going to work the program because if I do, I'm going to lose my spouse. And that is really, really difficult. I mean, I get it. I do. I get it. That is not something that I dealt with, but I absolutely get it. It's scary and it's not something that you want. But the way that I look at it is it's either your life or your spouse. And if you lose one of them, you lose both of them. The other way, you only lose one of them. So which one are you going to choose? You know, um, every single person that has come into the program that I have met and said, I'm here, but I'm not going to work the steps, doesn't stay. Now, whether that means they drink again or not, I don't know, because they're gone. But I do know that several of them passed away. And it makes me really sad. And that's an understatement, obviously. So what was my point? I don't know. I just went on a tangent. That's fine too. So the book, Drop the Rock. It is a blend of stories, advice, and lots and lots and lots of inspirational content. And I'm going to call it a must read for anyone committed to working the steps for your sobriety. I think it should be a requirement. If this was a college course, this would be 102 for sure. So, what am I going to give it? I'm going to give it 5 wags. Now, I don't know if it's wags, wolves. I have no idea anymore. I have to go look at my website, but it's going to get a 5 out of 5 for me because I really think that it's critical. Yes, I know I give lots of 5s, but why am I going to recommend a book that sucks, right? So it gets a 5 for me. You can go on to my website and keep up with our reads and recovery. I will be announcing what next month's book is on the 1st. And don't forget that you've got a couple more days to work on your June listener challenge. And that was Healthy Habits Challenge. So hopefully you have been successful at that. I've had a few people checking in. I've had some people frustrated that they have not made their goal, but I can tell you those people who are frustrated have done it more times, whatever their goal is, whatever their challenge was, have done it more times this month than they would have if they didn't participate in the challenge at all. So I'm going to say that is a freaking party to celebrate about for sure. And that's what I'm going to do. So thank you for joining me today. May Hannah, the little itty bitty tiny little mouse, rest in peace. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you tomorrow.